Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're embarking on an exploration of a concept that helps us understand why sometimes, well, entire societies seem to quietly erase uncomfortable parts of their past. We're diving deep into social amnesia, a fascinating idea that really redefines what we mean by forgetting.
It's far more profound than just a casual slip of memory. We're talking about a process where societies actively and often selectively suppress or transform collective memories.
Actively suppress. Oh,
And the implications for how we understand history and even ourselves are pretty significant.
so we've distilled the most compelling insights from your sources to give you those aha moments, allowing you to quickly grasp the nuances of this powerful concept without getting lost in the weeds.
Yeah, cutting through the noise.
So let's truly unpack this.
Let's do it.
To kick us off, let's grapple with this core concept. What exactly is social amnesia? It feels like it goes beyond just individual forgetfulness, right?
Yeah, it absolutely does. When we delve into the material, it becomes clear that social amnesia isn't some natural fading of memory. No.
Okay.
Instead, it's defined as the collective forgetting of specific historical events, social traumas, injustices, or even like cultural practices by a group, community, or nation.
Right. Collective.
What's crucial here is that it's often an active, selective erasure. Critical thinkers like Russell Jacoby, who really popularized this idea, highlighted how this isn't accidental. It's frequently politically motivated.
Politically motivated.
Yeah, deeply tied to things like nationalism, capitalism, and the desire to control historical narratives for particular ends.
That distinction between natural forgetting and selective erasure feels really important.
It's key.
So how can we spot it? I mean, what are the key characteristics that tell us we're actually looking at social amnesia in action?
That's a crucial question. The material points to two main hallmarks, really. First, it's profoundly collective. It's not just one person forgetting, it's entire societies or groups.
Okay, collective.
And second, it's fiercely selective. This isn't just, passive omission.
Selective. So choosing what gets forgotten.
Precisely. And here's where it truly gets fascinating. This forgetting can serve different purposes. Sometimes, maybe it's protective. Perhaps a society's unconscious attempt to shield itself from past trauma or overwhelming guilt.
A coping mechanism almost.
Sort of, yeah. But just as often, it can be oppressive, actively used to protect existing power structures or dominant narratives by burying inconvenient truths.
So maintaining the status quo.
Exactly. And what's striking is how deeply institutions like schools, governments, and the media are often implicated in this process. They play a big role.
Wow. Okay, it sounds like once you understand those characteristics, you might start seeing this pattern, well, everywhere.
You really do.
So where do the sources suggest this phenomenon of social amnesia most commonly plays out? What kind of context are we talking about?
That's the power of this concept. It illuminates so many historical and societal patterns. The material really highlights some common contexts. Think about colonialism and empire.
Okay.
It's not uncommon for former colonial powers to sort of whitewash their pasts, minimizing the brutality or exploitation. For instance, British school curricula might gloss over the darker chapters of their rule in India or Kenya.
Right, painting a sanitized picture.
Yeah, exactly. Then there's caste, slavery, and racism. The sheer scale of systemic oppression, whether it's the legacy of slavery in the U.S. or, say, caste-based violence in India, is frequently downplayed or reframed in national conversations.
Which fundamentally distorts the past.
It really does. And we also see it with genocides and mass violence. Certain genocides are remembered, memorialized even, while others are actively erased or denied.
Like the Armenian genocide.
That's a prime example, yes. Still denied by many in Turkey. Or the Bengal famine of 1943 rarely features in mainstream British historical narratives. It's just missing.
It's chilling how selective it can be.
It is. And it applies elsewhere, too, like gender violence. Patriarchal societies often forget the everyday violence women face. You hear things like, boys will be boys. That sort of attitude erases patterns of abuse.
Downplaying systemic issues.
Precisely. And even indigenous knowledge and languages. Think about how colonialism, modernization, urbanization, they all contribute to the disappearance of native wisdom. Australia's Aboriginal knowledge systems, for example, suppressed for centuries.
So if societies are actively engaging in this kind of forgetting, How do they actually do it? What are the practical tools or mechanisms they employ?
Right, the how. The sources detail an array of fascinating and often quite subtle mechanisms. Take education systems, for instance.
Yeah, you mentioned textbooks.
Exactly. It's astonishing how entire uncomfortable truths can simply be omitted. If it's not taught, well, it's effectively forgotten by the next generation.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Pretty much. Then there's media framing. The way stories are told, or perhaps more importantly, not told, can profoundly shape public memory, focusing intensely on certain events while just ignoring others.
Setting the agenda.
Completely. And consider urban development. Sounds mundane, maybe, but gentrification isn't just about new buildings. It can physically erase historical neighborhoods, local landmarks, cultural spaces.
Wiping away the physical traces of memory?
Yeah, the embodiment of community memory. Even something as fundamental as language shift can contribute. When indigenous or minority languages disappear, so does the cultural knowledge, the unique perspectives embedded within them.
And what about things like statues or street names?
Good point. That fits under public monuments and renaming. The continued presence of statues honoring colonial figures or streets named after oppressors actively reinforces a certain version of history while silencing others. It's a constant, visible reminder of a selective memory.
Okay, so this clearly isn't just some abstract academic exercise then. There are profound human and societal implications to this kind of forgetting, aren't there?
Oh, absolutely.
Why would societies engage in something that sounds, frankly, so detrimental?
Well, the material really digs into the why behind it, outlining several powerful psychological drivers. One big reason is simply comfort over truth.
Easier to forget than feel guilty.
In a nutshell, yes. It's deeply uncomfortable for a society to confront past guilt, shame, or complicity in injustice. Forgetting becomes a kind of collective coping mechanism.
Okay.
And this ties directly into what psychologists call cognitive dissonance reduction.
Cognitive dissonance, right? Holding conflicting beliefs.
Exactly. Imagine a society that wants to believe it's inherently just and fair. If its history is riddled with injustice, that creates a painful contradiction, all right?
Yeah, definitely.
So to resolve that psychological discomfort, the society collectively forgets or reframes the offending parts of its past to maintain a coherent, albeit inaccurate, self-image.
Wow, that's powerful.
It is, and there are other costs too. There's the loss of identity for communities whose cultural memory is suppressed. This deeply reduces their resilience, their sense of self.
And for the victims.
Well, that's perhaps the most tragic part. When collective suffering is denied or forgotten, it leads to the re-traumatization of victims. Their pain is invalidated, silenced.
This all sounds quite systemic and, well, deeply ingrained. It raises the question, can this process of collective forgetting actually be reversed? Is there a counterforce? A way for societies to actively remember?
That's the hopeful side of the story, and yes, absolutely. The material talks quite a bit about powerful movements focused on what's called social memory.
Social memory, okay.
Which is basically active collective remembering. These movements work to reclaim and recenter forgotten histories. Think about the Black Lives Matter movement actively pushing for reevaluation of historical narratives.
Right, challenging dominant narratives.
Exactly, or the various Dalit movements in India fighting for recognition and justice against centuries of erasure.
So how do they do it? What are their tools?
They use several vital mechanisms. Things like storytelling and oral history are crucial, ensuring that lived experiences, the ones often left out of official records, are preserved and heard.
Giving voice to the voiceless.
Precisely. They also utilize museums and archives to safeguard tangible records, preventing them from just fading away. And they engage in things like street protests and public art.
Taking it to the public square.
Yeah, forcefully bringing hidden histories into public awareness, making them impossible to ignore. And perhaps most fundamentally, they push for curriculum reform.
Back to the schools.
Back to the schools. Ensuring that what is taught includes those previously omitted, uncomfortable truths. It's about reshaping the foundation of collective memory.
So let's make this even more concrete. Can we look at some specific examples where we've seen this push and pull between forgetting and remembering playing out in real life?
Exactly. The material offers some truly powerful illustrations. Let's take the United States and the Tulsa Race Massacre of 1921.
Okay, I've heard more about that recently.
Right, and that's the point. For decades, this horrific event, where a prosperous Black community, Greenwood, was literally bombed from the air and burned to the ground by a white mob, was largely absent from history textbooks and public discourse.
It's erased.
Largely, yes. It was a classic case of social amnesia, silencing a deeply traumatic event that didn't fit the preferred national narrative of progress and equality. It's only relatively recently that concerted efforts have brought it back into mainstream consciousness.
A deliberate
A
remembering.
very deliberate remembering. Another example is Japan's ongoing struggles with fully acknowledging its role in WWII atrocities, particularly sensitive issues like the comfort women.
That still comes up, doesn't it?
It does. It's an ongoing societal debate highlighting the deep-seated resistance that can exist to confronting certain uncomfortable historical facts. It shows how social amnesia isn't always total erasure, but sometimes minimization or denial.
Okay. What about elsewhere? India, South Africa?
Good examples. In India, you might see the erasure or downplaying of figures like Dr. Ambedkar, a key architect of the Constitution and a Dalit leader, in some textbooks. Or consider the relative silence in mainstream narratives around events like the 1984 anti-Sikh riots.
Selective focus again.
Yes. And in South Africa, while the post-apartheid Truth and Reconciliation Commission was a monumental, globally significant step towards confronting the past.
A huge effort.
Absolutely. But some still argue, and the sources reflect this tension, that certain painful realities, perhaps economic inequalities rooted in apartheid, were maybe glossed over or swept under the rug in the pursuit of national reconciliation. It leaves this lingering sense of incomplete memory for some.
So even attempts to remember can be complex.
Very complex. It's rarely a simple case of just remembering everything. It involves choices, power dynamics, and ongoing struggle.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive into social amnesia. It's clear this concept offers, well, a really powerful lens through which to view history and even current events in a completely different light.
Indeed. Because understanding how and why societies forget isn't just about academic knowledge, is it? It's about empowering you, the listener, to critically analyze the narratives you encounter every single day.
To ask what's not being said.
Exactly, to question what might be missing from the story. It raises, I think, an important question for you to ponder. In your own country, or perhaps even your own local community, what stories, what histories, what uncomfortable truths do you think might be collectively forgotten or actively suppressed? And perhaps more importantly, what does that ongoing forgetting mean for our present?
A truly thought-provoking challenge to leave us with. Keep asking those questions, keep digging, and keep seeking those deeper nuggets of knowledge.